He was funny, yes, he said, I had a new guy today, Bob. And he goes, and I don't have it in front of me, I've talked to somebody.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Victor Zoning Board of Appeals. Call the meeting to order. Start with the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America,
Republic
for which it stands,
one nation.
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
All right, welcome everyone. Just setting a few ground rules and letting everybody know the emergency exits are off to the side, also out back. In the vestibule area, you'll find the restrooms. If you haven't done so already, please sign in on the attendance sheet. There are business cards at the back of the table. If you'd like one, please take one. There's a copy and copies of the proposed resolutions front and back. Feel free to take a look. As far as your cell phones go, either please silence them or put them on vibrate so as not to disturb the meeting itself. If you have any conversations that you find that are necessary, that are not part of the meeting, please take it out into the lobby area. And as far as the hearing itself, we have exhibits, and if you have exhibits that you want to produce and use, you feel free to do so. Just let us know that these are new so we can mark them accordingly. Also, if you're referring to an exhibit, please do your very best to use compass directions, north, south, east, and west, structures, but if you see over here and if you see over there, the record is going to be difficult to create and understand it. Amber does a great job in listening and typing everything, and it all goes down. So the more descriptive you can be, the better the minutes will be. All right, let's take care of the minutes. July 18th, 2022. Hopefully everyone has had a chance to review them. If so, I would entertain a motion for approval.
I make that motion.
Thank you, Fred. A second. Thank you, Sarah. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Carried.
I wasn't here, Mike.
Oh, that's right. Thank you. All right. First on the agenda is Cliff Anderson. I was informed just before the meeting that will be tabled. And even though the next meeting is August 15th, we're going to make that for September 6th, so everybody knows that. If something changes, we'll let you know. Eric Ferry? Did I pronounce that right? Okay, great. Come on up.
Eric Ferry, I'm representing my house on 7195 Road. They're requesting to put a shed 4 feet away from the side setback line due east. That is just perfect. It's a new house construction right now. Of the house and the garage. Original build was to keep. Property as well.
You said you are representing your parents. You don't live at the premises, or you won't live at the premises? All right. Not assuming anything. Are these your parents?
No.
Okay, where are they?
They're available.
Is there anything that you have in writing that says you can represent them?
I did that.
Is that here someplace? Because normally what happens is the applicant comes in and they have either ownership of the premises for the application, or there's something in writing that says that my fill in the blank will be representing an engineer or an attorney will come in and make the presentation. But do we have any of that?
He's building the home, correct?
You're building a home.
Yes.
There we go. That helps. Okay. All right. Fred, questions, comments, concerns?
You've gone right to the edge for me, 4 feet. I think it was 16 by 20, is that right? I'm kind of going by memory. I don't have my glasses, I can't see it.
Yes, it's 16 by 20.
And it's 20 the east and west way. Suppose you could rotate that so the 16 picked up another 4 feet off the side yard. There's a garage door that faces the house, the only door. So that could move to the what's now the end of the shed. That would be 8 feet. If you could slide the swimming pool over a couple feet, you'd have 10, and I would be happy with that. My one vote. That's my thought on it. You didn't try very hard to protect that side yard in my view. There's some things you could do. Seems like. Or at least try.
And rotate the shed.
We don't give out all that that close to the side.
I think to hone in on what Fred is getting at is when variances are granted, we are required to, if it's granted, as minimally as possible. So we're not trying to re-engineer anything. It's exploring ideas, seeing if there's anything feasible to either stay within the code, or if a variance is granted, it's done as minimally as possible. That's kind of where that thought is coming from Fred. So I'm not sure I caught the answer. Is it possible to rotate the shed? Is it possible to move the future pool over? Would be to the east of the property. I got my compass directions right.
Yes, we would basically want to stay out from the back of the. For the back and bury the shed more, and all you can see is the roof and just the face of it. And catch 4 feet. I didn't know what was max or minimum.
Well, you're about to find out. I give you it's, I don't know what, I was going to try and look into the side lots, and I actually forgot to, but I assume it is pretty removed from any public view, and there's not a lot of extra traffic around there anywhere that would influence a neighbor. Anyway, is that right? Is that what you think too?
Yes, that's
Yeah.
what I think as well.
So there's one good thing. Well, that's my thought.
Sarah, questions?
I also think that the pool not existing, there's room to change that right now. Fred, in his thinking.
To the foundation line.
So it's measured from the eave.
So our inspector, that's not like from.
Yes, sir.
Basically,
Again, so you're aware, when variances are granted with respect to sheds, the measurement is taken from the eave or the overhang and then over to the lot line. So again, if a variance is granted for however much, that's where the measurement is to be taken. There are other questions, comments, concerns? Donna?
Nope, I'm good.
Matt?
How far along is the construction project? Have you broken ground?
yes,
Because I didn't,
we're
Jessica.
framing today, so framer started today.
Okay.
So foundations there.
Sure. And I mean, I concur with what a couple of the other board members have said in that at least it's for the most part greenfield. So you obviously you're framing the house. The house really isn't in question. It's kind of a tight site, right? The side you picked is probably better of the two because you don't have another house as, you know, adjacent to it. But I would think now's the time to try to mold what the future pool may look like, as well as what the shed would then look like. It'd have to be, maybe it's only 15 or 16 or 20, you know, or different dimensions to make it fit. I'm always a big proponent of having applicants come in and show me a site plan or a drawing that is to code and trying to explain to me why it doesn't make sense, right? Why I can't fit this, especially with an application like this where at least none of it exists. Often we deal with things that are already there, the house is already there, the pool's already there. So here we do have that pool that isn't, it's obviously not there. There's an opportunity maybe to make everything, you know, fit within the site. And I'm okay with some leniency on that side of the property, being it away from the neighbor's fence and the house. We still have to hear from the public, but I think there's probably some things you could do. It's a pretty large shed, right? I mean, it's got a garage door on it. Is it just normal lawnmower type stuff? I mean, it's what size is the parcel? Is it a quarter acre?
100 feet wide.
What is it? How many acres? Is it a quarter acre or is it does it say it right down there and I missed it?
Must be over an acre.
0.64 acres.
Yeah, 0.6. So it's a little over a half an acre.
That being in somewhat in the middle of the backyard. We only have from that covered porch to that pool, 10 feet of flat space. And
It goes up.
excuse me.
It goes up.
It goes up probably, I want to say. Basically, we did not want right in the middle, so that's why we, you know, had to be 4 feet away from the property.
You think you're saying it goes up 50 feet from?
I'm plus or minus from that grade, I want to 30 feet.
Very steep.
It's a real
Real
steep
steep.
slope.
No, but from the bottom to the top of that hill is 30 feet. It's going to be as high as the house is tall, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so the house above us is literally,
And that goes how far into the site? So that grade, right, that goes from 30 feet,
yeah,
is
that
it?
grade where I have the arrow showing
Mm-hmm,
to the 40-foot setback,
okay,
that slopes from top all the way down, and then where the pool area and the shed is, all flat. So we just graded that to make it flat so we can have a backyard.
Does the aerial view show anything from the adjacent properties? Suzie, could you put that aerial?
Sister
Yeah,
lives
that's what I've
on the
been looking
right-hand
at.
side.
So the house behind it is the driveway to the,
Here on it, up to 30.
yeah, halfway.
Yeah, it's steep. I looked at it tonight, it's steep.
no, I did not.
And we have quote unquote, to, but going against the house.
So what's going in the shed?
Sheds going, lawnmowers, all garden stuff, storage stuff.
And they live next door, they don't have one today? Or do they have a shed today in the
All the
current?
lawnmowers are outside.
Okay.
They're all, their garage is deeper, my sister's house. Parcel being small.
Okay. I'm okay with some kind of variance or leniency here. I just think you could probably do a,
You know what you're saying, you want
yeah.
to shrink the shed down a little?
I don't want to architect it for you, so whether you think it's making the sheds smaller, placing it differently, it's your site, so I don't want to get into engineering it, or future pool moving towards the, looks like it'd be towards the east, or wrapping around the porch. You guys are creative.
Yes, yes.
So that's kind of how I'm looking at it. I agree, at least there isn't another home directly adjacent to that side of the house, so.
Shed into the hill as well, so again. Try not to keep the shed in the middle of the yard. And like you said, if it's existing or new construction, if I came here with the house built, you know, it should be both ways, right? You could have the shed in the back corner, and if I had the pool there, no matter what, that shed would be going at that quote unquote location.
Yep.
It does think for us that we, construction, we can. I like, Fred's idea by twisting the shed and making it
Do?
and going in.
You like my idea? Huh,
Well, yeah.
see, what's today?
We could flip it, I could tell my dad that. Garage door on the other side. Understand 4 foot, I thought it was actable away from the property line.
If it was in the village, it would be fine.
Well, I think it all depends on the site, right? If you came here with a site that showed, oh, look, I absolutely have to have this exact size shed, and I absolutely, the only place to put it is right here within 4 foot, because I've got, you know what I mean? It's, every application is a little different, and every site's a little different, so it's just one of those, you know, as we try to balance the impact to the, you know, to the site, against your needs, because we don't want it, you know, to completely shut it down. No, I think it's just a matter of what the site will support and what your needs support, so that's all.
All right, so let me touch
ahead.
on a few. You've touched on a number of issues, and looking at the criteria, no one criteria, if you don't meet it, will automatically disqualify, or the board would have to say, no, you don't get the variance. It's a balancing test, all right? So one of them is whether or not it's going to change the character of the neighborhood. I don't think that's really it here. One of the criteria, this would be number 2, is whether or not there is a feasible means for you to put the shed in that yard without needing a variance. So I think you've already indicated that if you turn the shed 90 degrees, it very well could be that you don't even need a variance. Because if I'm looking at your drawings, on the side of the porch, it's 17.4. If you turn it, that's 16 feet. And if you tuck it in with the line of the house that goes north and south, you should be able to accomplish it. I'm not saying you got to do it. It's the point is that you probably can accomplish putting that shed in that yard without needing a variance, or without burying it halfway into the hill, or halfway up there, however you're describing it. You also made it a point, it's, well, we don't want to put it in the backyard and make it an eyesore. That's a need and want, right? Everybody could say, it's like, gee, I don't really want it there because it's not going to look pretty. It's going to look nicer off to the side so I can see my backyard. Right? You, your parents, they picked that lot. It's 100 feet wide. You knew what you were dealing with. The other part, and we've got stung on this a little bit before, is people would say, I'm going to put a future pool in, and then they never do. So if the pool was there and we were looking at it, says, well, this is kind of the only place we can put the shed. We would really like the shed because of lawnmowers and things like that. That does make some sense. But we don't know if the pool is going to be 60 feet, 40 feet, 30 feet, if it's a hot tub, if it's, and you could get the variance and say, heck with the pool, we're not going to do the pool, and now this board has granted a variance based on a pool that's never going to exist. You follow me so far? So there's a lot of these variables, these moving targets, that the board would rather look at facts that aren't going to move. And the unknowns is what kind of throws us a bit, all right? So turning that, let's just talk about the shed a little bit. Turning the shed 90 degrees and keeping it within the house line, if you will, the north and south house line, and even moving that pool over to, would be to the west, like Fred suggested. Is that a possibility to do that and
So that
to still?
corner, if I flip that shed, that corner of that shed's gonna approximately be like 5 patio. So if you're saying if I go within the 50 foot, it's thicker right there. So do I need a variance for the back, because it's a 40-foot setback and a 50?
Is this coming out on the,
It's very hard to put that
When he goes
shed
over
right
there?
in that space.
can you hear it?
Hold on, stop. We can't talk over people. Fred, did you have a question?
Well, I was asking Amber if what he just said came through. He's so far
There
away
is a
from the
pointer
microphone.
on there too, if that's helpful.
Okay, thanks, Fred. Yeah, if moving away from the mic, it's going to make it hard for Amber to pick up the record. So let's go back a little bit. So rotating it 90 degrees. I'm not following how it's in the middle of the yard if you're asking for,
Well, from the corner here, that'd be tight right now.
What if you just went with a 10 by 10? Would that suffice? Would that fit within that corner and be able to store what you need?
all right, a 16 by 20 shed, I have one of those. I didn't need a variance. It's a big shed.
Right.
You could put a small family in there.
Understood.
Right. So again, we're not trying to engineer it. It is that it's the needs and wants. Can your desire to have a shed on this property, is it possible to be accomplished without a variance? If it's not, then, state your argument on why it is that it can't be done, and we're just exploring. That's all. We're not saying you can't have
My
it.
argument, yes. That yard. Shed. upward in the middle, right in that setback. So you'll see all the sheds. So at the backyard, let's take the future pool out. That shed went in that space. Have windows coming. From the home, from the backyard.
Your,
Even if but also, even if the yard were flat, you'd still need a variance, right? Because there's a 40-foot setback.
Correct.
you built your sister's house? And when I'm looking at the aerial, Sue, could you bring up the aerial for me? So I'm looking at her, what looks like a back patio, hardscape. Yeah. So where is that in relation to where this future pool and shed is? If you go over to, let's see, to the east of your sister's home, where is the rear of the house? Where's the future pool, the shed, if you follow my question? Yep.
Lined up the front. House right here.
I'm not quite following.
The
There's
house
two
is farther
houses.
I
forward.
understand your question.
The house
So
is
you-
farther forward. The house you want to build is farther forward than your sister's house.
Correct, correct. The garage is more forward than my sister's house. Garage right to the
Okay, so
floor.
then that helps me understand. So if your parents' house is more forward or more north of your sister's home, but yet as I see her hardscape in the backyard, it seems it's presumably level to,
Her valley, this is the steepest, and then it
okay.
branches. This is the
Do you have a topo map? You didn't get one? All right, I'm struggling a little bit on, without some facts in front of me on why that shed needs to be where it is. It really can't be anywhere else. Sounds more like a needs and wants, but we're going to hear from the public. So if you have comments, concerns, questions, thoughts before we open up to the public, love to hear it.
We'll work with you trying to.
Okay.
With the shed and whatnot,
There you go.
but it would give some sort of lead. Us to not put it right at the, it would.
Understood it, looks, and for a lot size of what it is and the amount of equipment that is going to go into the shed, seems like there's a lot of stuff going in there. And knowing from a comparison of what I have and how much I put into that shed, I could put a lot more than just a lawnmower in there.
Correct, that's why the garage was designed. So Bubbles, edge road to going was all done.
Yeah, go ahead. Go
So
ahead.
on the site plan itself, it was referred to front setback. That's for the principal structure or accessory?
This website.
Okay.
It's for any structure.
So I was thinking it would be. Okay, that was my
All right, anyone from the public want to speak for or against? Yes, no? Come on up if you do. Okay, well, you can hold your thought a minute, then come on now. We don't bite.
Got this close, you may as well go the last 6 feet.
Okay, that helps, nice. And you are?
I'm the son of Bruce Kioski.
Okay.
Evelyn, my mother.
Was your dad Wes? Then he sat here a good many years on this board. World War II pilot?
I have no,
Oh, hold on. Time out, Bruce. Two things. So you have to talk into the microphone so we can hear it. And second thing is, it's not permitted to ask the applicant, you can ask us questions, and if we deem it necessary, then we can ask him questions. So we're just going to follow that procedure if we could.
I've been in and out.
There we go.
Thank you.
We could still see over. Well, that, my God, now I can hear myself everywhere. Yeah, so the only concern I have is kind of what's going to happen with that embankment, because obviously my mother being 92, down the line, we're going to have to sell this property somewhere along the line, in the next decade.
Be Lynn?
Yeah,
Nor.
yeah.
So it's a little different animal if there was concerns. Certainly, I think the best course would be is to talk to the builder and potentially our code enforcement officer. But as far as the variance itself, and I hear you, if it's going to, I should preface that with, if it would change any environmental conditions to any of the neighbors, yes, we would be concerned about it. Do you think that that's potentially the case, that it would cause drainage issues?
Well, initially I was a tad concerned because they did raise that area of the property for both houses, actually. They raised the grade a little bit. But the last time I was in there, it looked like they'd run a continuous drain from Mom's property under and all the way out, and it looks like it drains down Gillis Road just the other side to the west of his sister's property. So there must be an underground drain line, because it looked like there was a surface drain in between the two driveways. So, but when you pull into our driveway, we had a drainage ditch with a pipe under the driveway, and it tended to look like theirs was a little bit higher than ours, but if the whole thing does drain downhill, it should not be a drainage issue on our property,
Okay.
I don't think.
Okay. Other concerns, questions you have
Just
for us?
keeping it comfortably away from the property line so we don't have disappointment down the line, you
Sure.
know?
Understood.
That's the only issue I have, really.
Okay, good.
All right?
Right. Just a quick one, and maybe it just warrants going out and taking a look at the site. I'm looking at the contour map from the county's website. I'm showing in the back a relatively steep, but a 10-foot drop from 750 to 740, and then it gradually drops, obviously, towards the front of the house, in front of the road. But we were talking earlier about numbers like 50 feet were being thrown around. And maybe it just warrants more time to go take a look at it, because the data I've got here doesn't show a 30 or 50 foot drop. It shows it going from 750 relatively quickly to 740, and then towards the road from there. So I don't know, that may be an option as well. I don't know how much time the applicant has. That might help a little bit. Often when we get to where we are like this, usually either helps, get to a conclusion. But that's just my opinion, because I don't see a 30 or 50 foot drop at all.
Would you like to say anything? Comments, concerns, questions you have for us? You're good. Okay.
10 feet between.
If you do, just raise your hand along the way. We can get you back up.
Between Dirk.
Yeah.
Okay. Eric, why don't you come on up, back up? Address the concern from Mr. Kioski. Drainage, it sounds like you are cutting into that hill, so how is it that you are mitigating, managing any drainage issues from south to north?
So when we built my sister's house, there's a storm line in here.
You're running parallel to...
There's an existing storm line right here that had some catch basins in front here. So we connected all the storm water and everything to this culvert pipe that's a storm line, and it shoots off into this area.
At a municipal storm line, or is it just a culvert on the side of the road?
It's a culvert on the side of the road, and we put a culvert. There was a culvert pipe here that was put here to catch at the low point of the neighboring property here. So when all the water comes, there's a culvert that goes this way, and then there's a culvert pipe that goes all the way across.
Was that part of your building plan? Namely, does our code enforcement officer know that that's being done? Does the town know it?
Yeah, I would assume so, because my
Well, we can't
sister's been,
assume.
yes, because my sister's been approved and COO and all the storm and the final topo, everything's been quote-unquote approved for the storm management for all the properties and the swales.
Check with our code enforcement officer. We don't know that that's happening as far as the drainage and into the storm culvert that runs parallel to Gillis? Okay. All right, so that would be a concern.
You are correct, because the subdivision it did show all the utilities and storm management from,
Property, it's 25.
correct. Yes. And that's why we connected it, and we basically put a culvert right across my parents' property here when we built my sister's house, when we bought both parcels. And we went right to the low point here to catch all the water from the neighboring property. So we don't have any ponding. The houses are raised up to get the water away from the foundations.
A freestanding shed?
The proposed shed on the drawing shows foundation.
When you say foundation, it's on a pad?
Four
gravel or-
inch block, and then 6-inch block, and then we have a concrete lip, so basically a garage design. If you open up the plans, I think I have a section showing the building structure.
Oh, there it is. I got it, yep. And your garage, 700 square feet, so it's 28 by,
24.
well, it depends on which measurement that you take, but it, 24 on the, where's my compass? So it's going to be 24 on the east and 26 on the west side. Is it a two-bay garage?
Yes.
Just real quick, I can confirm from that same county site that the water, well, and sewer runs exactly where the applicant said. There actually should be you should have a manhole in your front
Yep.
yard somewhere.
We had to raise that. We had to raise the manhole up and raise
Like, it's just
the storm pipes up as well.
Oh, yep, yep.
the water and the sewer structures, these are manholes.
Yep,
And then it looks
okay,
like there's a
great.
couple of them going through there.
So again, to look at the garage, and for reference, it's a two-bay garage. Arguably, you can fit more than just two cars in there. You can put tools in there if you wanted to. You can rack them on the side and the back, and it's even deep enough to bring a pickup truck in there. So I'm just not quite buying the argument that there's no more room in that garage, so you have to put all the tools, all the lawnmowers, everything into that shed. It's a large shed. So yeah, I'm not ruling it out, but I think Matt's correct. It's probably worth a look-see on, see it for ourselves, really, what does that grade look like? And it would be helpful, so you said the foundation's dug, how far along is the foundation?
The house is getting framed right now, so foundation,
Okay, so foundation's
backfill.
in,
I think you mentioned the shed might be dug. We're just looking if it was.
Yeah, so
safe,
the
we can
shed,
see-
so that's what the neighboring is worried about. We dug basically where the shed would be. We took out dirt and we basically thought the shed would be approved and put in that spot. when we
Okay,
dug
so there's a
up.
rectangle in the ground that is where
Correct.
the shed would go. Okay.
Correct, so I'll give everybody a good reference
okay. What's your
going into the
timeframe?
hill.
When do you
Hi.
need to know?
What do I need to know?
No, not what.
All right.
I know what you need to know.
Yes.
It's when. When do you need to know this for the variance? The next meeting is on the 15th.
When's your move-in date?
Christmas.
Okay.
Plenty of time.
You got some room to move.
Oh, yes,
And I know-
yes. We got the house, we got the house permit, that's all my parents care about. But again, my dad, quote unquote, he was worried about, with all the storage, again, it is a tight garage. If you open up the doors, that door will hit that wall. So it's 24, so cars are what? Almost 8 feet wide, almost 10 feet wide, you're almost, with the doors opening up, you'll be hitting the walls. It is a pretty tight fit. And I got screamed at by my dad about that too. And I was like, that's the way, you go, I push the house more back against the hill, or we shrink the garage.
I have a two-bay garage that's similar to this side. I have a pickup truck, and my wife has a Subaru Ascent, and we can open up the doors. We're not banging into each other.
Okay,
Goes on this. There's room.
okay.
Right? So I think, I like Matt's idea is to get out there, take a peek at it, look at the slope, look at the proposed site, and then reconvene. The next meeting is going to be on the 15th of August.
Okay. I can
Okay
do
with
that,
you?
yes?
If there's any other information that you have for us in the meantime, have at it, but it sounds like if it's being framed up, we can have a reference of where the house is.
Mm-hmm.
Are there stakes marking the property lines?
There are stakes marking the property,
Okay.
yes. We both share stakes. They're right at the electric pole, and you could see them all going up.
So that's going to help. So is reference to where that proposed shed is going to go, where the property line is going to give us some good reference points.
And at the same time, you'd be working out to see if you can gain a little more space on the side without,
Well, this is what's gonna happen. If I turn that shed, I'm gonna shove it as far as I can into that hill. And I'm probably going to need a variance for both. So the 40-foot setback and the 8-foot setback.
Not following you.
So I have a 40-foot setback from
Yep,
the
I know the
hill.
back. What's the 8?
So if I put if I flip the shed and I want to shove it more into the hill. So basically, the shed would be going right where this is. So I'd be 8 feet from here, and then also probably another 10 feet from this building, 40-foot setback.
That's whatever you want to do.
What's the size of the proposed future pool?
You're gonna give it a dimension? I would assume that it's
Can you just speak into the microphone, please?
12 feet wide. 12 feet wide by 30 feet long.
So, yeah, on the drawing, it looks like it's almost as wide as the shed is deep, right? So it's 18, looks like it's about 16 by, I mean, if it's just a rectangle, you can tell me with no thought put into it, but on here it's showing, yes, 16 by 30, 40.
Okay. All right. So let's do that. All right, everyone, at least we'll,
I do have one question, if I can ask the public, where, if it were to go farther back, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Do you not want to see the hill kind of carved out more, or you just want to make sure it's all kind of in harmony and everything's done properly and
Exactly.
drainage and obviously there's
It's not 40 or
All
50
built up.
feet, but it is 20, it's maybe 25 to 30 feet. I mean, it's a steep little drop back there. I've stood at the edge of it, at the precipice, and looked over it as his dad was digging the foundation for the house and going, boy, that's going to be a big, tight fit, but.
but let me ask you this then, on the, the east of the proposed shed is the driveway.
Right.
And I take, you maintain that, the driveway, the grass, whatnot.
Yes.
Any thoughts, would it make any difference to you or your mom if there was some buffering in between where the shed is and then where the property is that you're maintaining?
Well, that's where I was in agreement with Fred when he said to spin it. I thought, squeeze it, get it a little bit, so it doesn't feel like it's right on top of the property line. Because even the 15 feet, when I pulled in the driveway, I had to do a double take before the backfill was there. I'm like, dang, that seemed awful close.
Right, but if it's 5 feet, 10 feet, something where a variance is needed, there are occasions then when variances are granted is to minimize the appearance of it being so close or on top of that lot line.
Right.
Is to create some buffering so as to shield the rest of the public or neighbors for really where that shed actually is and how close is to it.
Well, and in keeping with that, I have no problem with him moving back, but then I still have a little concern on how that, ground is protected there so that,
house on the top of the hill.
so we're not eroding the front yard from the Deltec round, house in the round, as everybody calls it.
I'm not sure I got an answer.
What's that?
Buffer, meaning vegetation, if there were shrubs or something that would guard where the shed is, might have some, say, for example, arborvitaes, and then the property line. So when you and your mom are going up and down that driveway, you're really not going to see the shed.
Cuts down the visual, yes.
I'm right on the lot line, so maybe a more pleasing,
Yeah,
aesthetically.
And if you go back to that one aerial shot you had, if you look at the back of the property line, up on that hill, we actually did plant some, you can see like 3 or 4 bushes to that east corner up there to
Okay.
try and create a little bit of a visual barrier from the front door.
I'm in favor with taking a look-see and really get a feel for what's going on back there. Take a look at your concerns and also where
Some
that.
shrubs, great idea.
Thank you. Anyone else? Sarah, questions? You're good? Donna, you're good? Good?
Good.
Good? You're good for now?
I guess I'm good.
Okay. Anything else? Thoughts? Questions?
Basically, I'm going to resubmit per everybody's comment, and push the shed in the back? No?
Well, if you don't, if you turn the shed in, if you will, what you're saying is, and push it back into that hill, and still need a variance, before you start re-engineering all that we're going to do is, we can't do it collectively, because open meetings law is going to frown on that. We're going to have to come, if you will, in pairs or individual, and take a look at it to get a feel for, is 4 feet reasonable, or should it be moved over, and continue discussion at the next meeting.
Oh,
My advice
understood.
would
I
be
was
to-
trying to tackle it so
Yeah.
next meeting, get it
My advice-
approved with everybody's.
My advice would be to kind of take in everybody's comments today, and for the next meeting, show up maybe in your back pocket some ideas you had, or other things that are concepts that are acceptable to you, that maybe have more or less impact, like if I put it over here, I've got to get this kind of variance, or if I put it over here, or if I put it here, I don't need a variance. So it'd be good if you had some options, as we're all going to go out and take a look at it. We'll all, have an opinion, and then we'll just talk about, try to, again, balance what your needs and wants are, against the criteria. There isn't, one specific thing I think that was said tonight that you have to do. You could come back and say, I don't want to change anything, it is as is, vote on it. But I'd come with some ideas just based on the, kind of the feedback from the board tonight and the public, and,
Can you push the pool over further to the west to accommodate if the shed is moved also over to the west, still keeping it within 40 feet, 8 inches from the rear lot line, and still comply with it? So you're just shifting everything over so that everything fits and you don't need a variance. Can it be done? That's kind of the question is, it's the difference between can it be done or I don't want it.
Basically, yes, it can be done, but it's going to be an eyesore at the shed. Once you go there, you'll see how small the backyard is. It's just going to be boom, basically right out that back door.
so that comment is why I'm stumped as to why you need such a huge shed for so many lawnmowers.
Oh, understood, I get it. It's just my dad's demand. There was just,
Okay.
my dad's told me I want the size shed. I want to put all my rototillers, the lawnmower, the Christmas stuff. I kept going. There sauces of jars that we make 300
your
jars
sister's garage.
a year. Again, it's just basically he had that shed in Fairport. So that's basically his mentality. He's like, I want that same size shed to fit all of his stuff. So again, it was
There's
just,
no way to alleviate some of it with basement storage or attic space above the garage, or, that kind of stuff.
again, old up and down, outside, grab it, go.
I think you get it. We're
get it.
I understandable. I know you're throwing out the questions.
Yeah.
Again, I'm just trying to answer, again, the shed would be right in the middle of the yard if we put it within the setbacks. I like putting the shed stuck in the back, so then you don't see the side when you're driving up. Basically, you just see the roof and a garage door. Because both sides would be buried. Definitely the back would be buried, so
Okay.
you can walk basically from the top of the hill going on top of the roof. So once you see that shed steepness.
When we go there, we will be able to tell exactly where you want to put the shed.
I'm gonna
Find out just,
Yep, I'm going to spray paint the 15-foot
That's awesome.
setbacks,
Yep.
so you guys could see where the holes, and you'll see your 4 feet. And then I'm going to measure from their bush line. They have burning bushes hiding from the back of the property, and that's where the property line is. I'm gonna measure 40 foot down the hill, and I'm gonna throw some spray paint there as well.
thank you.
And you guys can take a look and see
Perfect. Good.
proportion of the backyard.
Someone generally there during the day?
Well, you'll see my dad there or me.
And very good. We won't don't mean to scare you, but we'll.
No, we want to, we would like, then just hearing everybody's thoughts would be awesome to come back to the next meeting and say, hey, okay, we'll
Yep.
move it, rotating the shed and putting it
Sounds good.
in that space, but,
Very good.
all right, thank you
Sounds like a
guys.
plan. Thanks so much for your time. You have a good night.
Thank you.
You're all set? You're all set? For now? So next meeting, you're welcome to come back. That would be the 15th, and we can take comments again. All right, then. Does anyone have anything else come before the board? Hearing none?
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great, have a
3
good
minutes
night.
ago.
Thanks so much for your time. Enjoy your evening.